My name is Christopher John Francis Boone. I am 15 years, 3 months, and 2 days old. I know all the countries of the world and their cities, and every prime number up to 7,057. I don't like looking at people. I don't like to be touched, and I especially do not like talking to strangers. This is because of stranger danger, which they tell us at school, which is where a strange man offers you sweets or a ride in his car. I do not tell lies. Mother used to say that this was because I was a good person, but it's not because I am a good person. It's because I can't tell lies. I used to hit people a lot, but then my teacher said I should write something instead. She said the book should start with something to grab people's attention. That is why I started with the dog. Carl Jung once said that knowing one's darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. This is a murder mystery novel. I went through Monsieur's gate and knelt beside the dog. The dog was lying on the grass with its eyes closed. The dog looked as if it was running on its side, but the dog was not running or asleep. The dog was dead. The pitchfork was sticking out of the dog. The dog's name was Wellington. I like dogs because they're truthful and they do not tell lies. Because, well, they cannot speak. But my teacher said that it was usually people who were killed in murder novels. My mother died 2 years ago. Father said she died of a heart attack and it was very unexpected. She was a very hot-tempered woman. Sometimes my behavior problems would make her really angry, and she would sometimes shout, "Christopher, you're going to drive me to an early grave." And sometimes she would hit me, too. In a murder mystery novel, usually there's someone who has to figure out who is the murderer and catch them. So I decided to do some detecting to find out who killed Wellington. So I began imagining and writing down a chain of reasoning inside my head, which was like this. Why would you kill a dog? A, because you hated the dog. B, because you were mad. C, because... I tried to think if there was any other explanation, but I couldn't think of one. I had forgotten I left my book lying on the table when Father came home from work at 5:48 p.m. This is what you call relaxing your guard, which you must never do as a detective. Father came into the room and said, "Christopher, what is this?" But he said it very quietly, and I didn't realize that he was angry because he wasn't shouting. He held my book in his right hand. "It's the book I'm writing. I'm going to find out who killed Wellington." "How many times do I have to tell you to stay out of the Shears yard?" And he took my notebook and went up to his bedroom. And when he came back, he wasn't carrying it anymore. And then he came back into the living room. "I'm sorry, Christopher. I love you. I just don't want to see you get hurt because I don't want you to get into trouble. Do you understand that?" I held out my right hand and spread my fingers out in a fan, and we touched each other's fingers and thumbs. We do this because sometimes Father wants to give me a hug. But I do not like giving hugs. And it means that he loves me. Because loving someone is telling them the truth. And Father always tells me the truth. Then I did some reasoning. I reasoned that even though Father had made me promise to keep my nose out of other people's business, I really wanted to get my book back. Plus, I didn't know who killed Wellington. So Father was lying asleep on the sofa. And then so I decided to go up to his bedroom and started by checking under his bed, and then I checked his closet. And when I opened it, I saw my book inside. That was when I noticed the letter. The letter was addressed to me. It was lying inside the box under my book with some other envelopes. It had never been opened, so I opened it. Dear Christopher, I'm going to try to explain to you why I went away. Christopher, I'm not a very good mother. I'm not like your father. Your father is a much more patient person. Do you remember once when we went shopping in town together and you were frightened because of all the people in the shop? So you crouched down on the floor and put your hands on your ears and were in the way of everyone. I tried to pick you up and move you, but you shouted and knocked those mixers off the shelf, and there was a big crash. But you wouldn't let me touch you. So I had to wait until you stopped screaming. That night I cried and cried. I told your father I just couldn't take it anymore. We had a lot of arguments. That was when I started spending lots of time with Mr. Shear. He was really the only person I could talk to. He said he and his wife weren't in love anymore. So he suggested I leave your father and we move in together. Your father was really angry. He said I couldn't talk to you anymore. Maybe if things had been different. Maybe if you had been different. But that's just the way things turned out. Love, your mom. I turned over the letter and I saw it was postmarked October 16th, 1997, which was 18 months after Mother had died, which means Mother was alive the whole time, which means Father had lied about this, which means Father had lied to me. I closed my eyes, I started sweating, and I felt sick. So I started doubling twos in my head to make me feel calmer, but my brain wasn't working very well. Then I heard Father walk into the room. Christopher, what the hell are you? Oh crap, the letter. You lied to me! Double twos. Christopher, I don't like to be touched! And then I went up to my bedroom and closed the door, but he followed after me. He stood there and said, I'm sorry, Christopher. I never meant for it to turn out like this. I promise you. Honestly, I did it for your own good. And there was tears dripping down his face. And He put up his right hand and spread his fingers out so I could touch them. But I looked at him and said, loving someone is telling them the truth. The next day at school, I told my teacher what my father had told me and that I couldn't do any more detecting, which means the book was over. But she said the book was good as it was. But I said it wasn't, because it didn't have a proper ending. Because I never found out who killed Wellington. So the murderer was still at large. But my teacher said a good puzzle is like a good murder mystery novel. And if it's a good puzzle, you can find out the answer before the end of the book. Is this a good example of a puzzle?